I know you can't believe it, but it is the time you've all been waiting for me to talk about episode 2 of season 1 of the weekend, the ultimate girls trip, the girls weekend trip, ultimate, I don't know. It's a mess, that title. But anyway, the ultimate girls weekend trip. I'm ready to talk about it, and I'm dying to see what you guys think. This one really, for me, is more about reading your comments more than actually doing the video, but I'm excited to see what you have to say. I will, of course, hopefully inspire you to want to comment below. Okay. So if you like my channel, please subscribe and like the video and all the things, I guess, that allows people to find my channel, because apparently if you guys don't like things, like, they don't ever talk about my channel on YouTube again, and I just disappear into the abyss. It's so difficult to understand all the algorithms. Now for this video, I felt like I might need a little help. So grab your wine. Maybe watch this one at night, okay? I just started, by the way. I haven't had a sip yet, okay? I didn't start without you. Okay, so we open up with more exhibitionism, but this time not from Ramona, from Luann. Luann basically shows her body naked to every cast member in the morning before they've even had a chance to have coffee. I didn't know what that was about. I was like, Luann, I guess she's really proud of her body. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. If you're sober, you're in the best shape of your life. Think about it. You're not drinking all that sugar. Okay. So as a result of that, I guess it would make sense that you'd want to show off your physique. It's kind of like the reward for denying yourself the alcohol, besides obviously not getting in trouble with the cops again. But, it's also very motivating to look good. So, so that was weird, Luann doing all that. So Ramona's excited, a little too excited about her workout. She shows that, she talks about the way her husband and her met, which apparently he would go to her gym in New York, and she was young, and he would watch her work out and stare at her ass the whole time. And then they met out somewhere, and he was like, "You're the girl from the gym." But then, of course, it comes out later that he was really into her ass, but he just didn't, I guess, have the balls to talk to her at the gym. So this is what we learn about Ramona and her husband. Then they get going to play tennis. Ramona doesn't want to share the tennis instructor because she booked the tennis instructor and no one else did. Melissa wants to play, but she's not I can't tell if she can play good or not. I don't think so, because Ramona said she doesn't even know what doubles is. So I get Ramona in this. I'd be like, listen, you didn't book the appointment and you don't know how to play tennis. So what the hell? Get your amateur ass out of here. And Melissa uses it as a method to connect with Kenya. Yeah, they're going to become good friends, Kenya and Melissa. In fact, I think they had an affair on this trip. They're so on each other. I'm not kidding. Okay, so it starts out innocently enough with a tennis match. But, within 20 minutes into the show, they're riding each other on a boat. Melissa's literally riding Kenya. I'm like, what's happening? Isn't Melissa married? I don't get it. It was weird. It was weird. I was like, oh my gosh, thank God Kenya left her baby at home. That's all I'm going to say. Not like a family trip, obviously. Kyle on the boat, because that's where we end up. After the tennis tournament, we end up going on this boat, and everyone's Italian Irish, okay? And I know Joe watched that episode and was like, he's going to pretend like it was okay. Yeah, look at my cool wife, doesn't mind riding some chick on a trip. But most Italian men don't like their wives doing that, and they don't like them, flirting with anyone. And when I say anyone, I mean a guy, a girl, a dog, anybody. You don't want to be flirting, okay? Because Italian men don't like that. So I think she probably got home and had some shit for that. Teresa goes on this nature walk with Cynthia Bailey, and I can't help but be totally shocked, because somehow Cynthia Bailey is not at all like I thought she would be. She's like spiritual and non-confrontational and like the peacemaker. And I just was like, what the hell is going on? I never thought Cynthia Bailey would be this way. Anyway, so she's talking to Teresa, and Teresa says, I'm so happy that Kenya stood up for me and against Ramona for calling me a scarecrow. And I found that really shocking because no one on my franchise has ever stood up for me. And I'm like, really? I'm like, oh boy, her friends on the franchise are going to be pissed when they hear that. But I don't know if I believe Teresa. I think she was just kind of like, being that person in the group that like you feel bad for in a way. So on this walk, it comes out that Teresa never felt anything for her husband after he came out of prison. She couldn't even kiss him. And, just so you know, he came out after the show aired, Joe, and said, I don't blame her. We hadn't seen each other in like a long time, and we did lose our connection. And, he was like a very like stand-up guy about watching that on the show. Very understanding. Then Teresa, she seems to allude in this episode that, her and Louis are blissfully happy. He's writing her a letter a day that he gave her to take with her. And, she's really horny, and that's apparent from the show. She keeps talking about how horny she is and how sexual she is. I mean, I guess this is like prepping us for the introduction to Louis, because the gossip about Louis Ruelas. Anyway, I think on The Real Housewives of New Jersey, Louis is going to be on this season, and I think we're going to hear about, how into sex they both are. But if you don't know the Louis gossip, you need to go on the Patreon. I know I sometimes plug my Patreon in here, but it's really all on there in detail, and it's awesome. There's an episode with Kim D where we share like receipts, and it's just so juicy. Okay, so you just really need to go listen to that episode of Dishing Drama Dana with Kim D and David Yontif on the Patreon. Okay? Dishing Drama Dana is the name of the Patreon. I put it in the description. Okay. I'm wearing bananas on my head because we were talking about sex, if you haven't figured that out. Sometimes my filters are kind of literal. Thea comes, is very supportive to Teresa. She makes her feel very safe. She's like very unjudgmental about prison, and she talks to her about it and is like, you've been really strong to go through what you've gone through, and you've come out on top. And that's all that matters, and good for you. So that was nice. But again, I'm like, Cynthia, why are you so nice? Something's wrong. I feel like something's coming. While we're on the boat, Ramona's like a real see you next Tuesday. She won't listen to Luann talk about how difficult it was for her to have Tom dump her and cheat on her. And, Ramona's like, I've heard this all before. I don't want to hear it again. I think Ramona's still friends with Tom. I think that was more to the point. But let's just say for the sake of the show, like, she just was sick of hearing it. And Luann is basically like, I'm still brokenhearted over Tom. I shouldn't have married my drinking buddy, but I did. And, that's what happened. And he cheated. And Bethany showing me was devastating and blah, blah. But then it comes out in all this crap. They all attack Ramona for being selfish. And then it comes out that Ramona worked at Macy's as a buyer, and Teresa worked at Macy's as a buyer. And then Ramona immediately is like, oh my God, we worked in the same place. We both have been buyers for Macy's, and you have to be so smart to be a buyer for Macy's. So therefore, Teresa, you're super smart. Now I believe it, because you have to know math to be a buyer. I'm just like, I can't follow Ramona's logic about anything, including that. So I'm just happy she thinks Teresa's smart. We'll call it a day on that one. Now we're introduced to the Google story. The Google story is that Luann went to Miami, and her friends in Miami said they had a guy that was perfect for her, and he never called her. And she somehow found out that he Googled her. And when he Googled her, I guess he thought she wasn't good enough, maybe because of the arrest. And so he never called her. And it devastated her, because she was like, am I always going to be like, judged by my Google? Luann obviously really was desperate to come up with anything at this point to say on camera. Like, wow, like a real reach on this one. I like struggled. I was like, Luann, I just don't, I can't. It's because people these days, men are like, oh my God, the more you're on Google, the hotter you are. Like, it doesn't matter what you're on Google for. They're just like, you're on there, lots of it, yay. You would think Ramona would help her with the Google guy. Feel better. Do you like this Ramona filter? No, it's not really, but... So Kyle and Cynthia Baker have this deep conversation on the boat, which is basically that Cynthia has some communication issues with Mike Hill, and that's her new husband, and that women are going into his DMs and I guess flirting with him, and it's a lot to take in because, of course, Mike is famous in his own right. Now, I don't know when they shot this and whether or not the alleged cheating rumors had come out about him and a girl on social media where he supposedly sent a naked picture of himself to her. I'm not sure if that actually happened before or after this shoot, but obviously this is either like, you know, the smoke before the fire, if you will, or this is her trying to, you know, mitigate that on the show after the fact. Anyway, I did a video about it. Go look for it in YouTube. Kyle then admits that women are constantly DMing Mauricio to go on dates and like hook up. I mean, I just don't know if I would have gone there. She knows what people are rumored to be saying about Mauricio. She knows. So why she ever went there on the show, why she ever brought that up, I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's just going to add fuel to the fire of the fans saying that Mauricio cheats on Kyle. So I just don't know why she went there. I was like, Jesus, there's like a million things to talk about. She must have been really drunk. That's the only thing I can think of. Because, I mean, it would be just so unlike her. Now, I know for a fact Mauricio's her everything. And I really hope Mauricio is the same with her. Mauricio, you better be the way I think you are. Truthful. So Cynthia Bailey has this dinner party and everybody's pretty wrecked, but they managed to get there. And the Cynthia's party, I guess, is based on a thing that she always does on her franchise, which is this barbecue where she also does these games where you get to know each other better, you ask questions, and, you know, but they turn out like a lot of shade is thrown around, I guess, in the process. So, you know, she first off starts off getting angry at Kenya because Kenya's late for dinner because her glam squad is late. And I mean, why she has a glam squad with a bunch of women at night at home, I don't know, but she does. Anyway, so she goes to dinner and she's late, and Cynthia thinks that's really rude because they hold dinner for her by an hour. And then she helps herself to some food in the kitchen when everyone else is starving and eats it. I would have kicked her ass. Anyway, this is where Cynthia Bailey becomes 50 Cent, as Kenya calls it, which is, I guess, like the dark side of Cynthia is 50 Cent. So, thus my filter. Okay, so basically, Cynthia Bailey starts to lash out. Now, Kyle gets all politically correct at the table, and she starts complaining about the game, that she felt uncomfortable, that it was like very like outdated. It was kind of, you know, like a beauty pageant, and it was just like, she just didn't want to partake in it. And Cynthia was pissed, like, why are you ruining my fun? And like, there's always a way to answer that's like different and unusual. And I'm just trying to get everybody to get to know each other. And like, you're kind of implying I'm doing something politically incorrect, which you know as well as I do, Kyle, the fans are going to come for me. So why are you doing that? And that's really why she was pissed, not because Kyle called out the game. Okay. So now I'm going to just give homage where homage is due. My friend Brian Moylan, who I love, he's a great guy, wrote an amazing article recap on in Vulture, which is very sophisticated, you know, highbrow recap for the New York Times having to do with housewife stuff. Good for you, Brian. And he did a really good recap of this one section of the party. And writes, they ultimately decide to play. Ramona pays homage to Teresa's bouncing, shimmering butt. Teresa chooses La, Cynthia, Ramona for fuck, marry, kill. Then we commence a circle jerk of everyone's biggest insecurities. Kyle references her previous eating disorder. Teresa admits she's afraid of getting older, and Kenya gets vulnerable about finding unconditional love. If my SSRI allowed for tear flow, this would have gotten me. Not me, Brian. Not me at all. But I like fell asleep during this part, which is why I need to read your thing. Melissa uses this opportunity to go deep on her relationship and daddy issues, her words, not mine. And Cynthia educates everyone on how sometimes insecurity manifests itself as overcompensation. Oh, by the way, Melissa's insecurity, I do remember this, was that Joe cheats. And she's always afraid of Joe cheating because her dad always cheated on her mom. He then says, Kyle and Cynthia, whoever did that 50 Cent art record. So I guess it's like 50 Cent, not 50 Cent, but I like didn't even catch that. And he says, and agree to continue with all the superlatives except the prettiest because we couldn't possibly perpetuate unreasonable beauty standards on this sentient silicone implant of a television program. It's rapid fire diplomacy. He's right. It's very hypocritical. I agree. It's a 6-episode feuding are packed into no more than 12 seconds of conversation. So what are we missing? Like, well, Cynthia somehow gets really bent out of shape at this party she has. And all we see is this awkward moment between her and Kyle over this game where she's kind of called not PC. And we see that her good friend Kenya from her franchise is kind of disrespecting her party. And Cynthia really gets bent out of shape over this. Now, given how reasonable she's been to this point, I was like shocked. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I feel like we're missing part of that edit. I'm going to say that. I feel like the producers kind of edited Cynthia badly because I think up to that point, her edit was too good. And I think they had to they were like, we got to do something with Cynthia. So I have a feeling like there's stuff we're missing that went down because she got really upset for no real reason. That's the end of the episode, and we're on to episode 3. Now, here's what I'm going to say. This episode, to me, was a B+. It was a B+ because we did get some tea in it, right? We did get some real tea. And I appreciated that tea. So I like that. I'm going to give it a B+ because of that. What I didn't like was the fights still seemed like bullshit. They weren't like legit, hardcore fights, like real, like something stemmed in something real. I didn't think anyone was particularly that likable on this particular episode. I didn't fall for anybody on it. Everyone was like equally whatever. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Did you like someone in particular after watching this episode? What did you like about this episode? What didn't you like about the episode? What grade do you give it, or rating would you give it? You guys, now I'm going to close with to you. I hope you enjoyed this video. I can't wait to read your comments on episode 2. And I really appreciate you guys watching and subscribing, and have an awesome rest of your day or evening.